Sometimes it takes a moment so clear and so gut wrenchingly true that everything else fades away. In this episode, Ian Fee shares how a single thought on day 3 of rehab changed the course of his life. From addiction and loss to healing and helping others, this is a story about what happens when we finally decide to face ourselves and what's possible when we do.
But on the third day of rehab, I don't know what it was. The good Lord touched me on the shoulder and was like, hey, unless you are right, there ain't anything going to be right, kid. You need to get yourself right, and everything else you can focus on. But until you're right, there ain't anything ever going to be right. And for some reason, that just clicked with me. And it was like, boom, just like a floodgates and emotions of like, wow, I really do need to look in the mirror.
I'm Matt Gilhooly, and this is The Life Shift. Candid conversations about the pivotal moments that have changed lives forever. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Life Shift podcast. I am here with Ian. Hello, Ian.
Hello, thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. This has been a journey that I never expected to love so much.
It's therapeutic when you can speak about your traumas and your different mindset and the things you go through. It's quite therapeutic, actually.
I agree now. I didn't realize the power of telling your story. Like, I think I understood the power of hearing other people's stories, but I never realized the power of sharing that and how it helps you put the pieces together more. Do you realize that as you go around sharing your story more?
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings it closer and closer together and a better understanding internally for me.
And then you reflect on it and you're like, why didn't I think of that a year ago? Well, before we get into your specific story, maybe you can tell us 2025, who are you? How do you identify in this world? However you want to describe that.
Ian Fee, 52 years old, been sober almost 7 years. 2025 for me is about health, wellness, mindset. Mental health has been such a focal point for me that I just recently learned of how important that is. I had a life coach that's been amazing for the last 2 years, which I highly recommend anybody that, somebody should have some sort of coach. We kind of, back in the day of growing up, you'd be like, oh, you have a therapist. What's wrong? Well, there's nothing wrong. I'm just trying to be better today. And I think there is that pendulum shift that those are changing these days.
The more people I talk to on this podcast, the more people that are like, yeah, the coaches are the people that help me level up.
Right.
To the next. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you want to take yourself to the next level. It takes a village. It takes a tribe. It takes, your core group of people to help you level yourself up. If not, you're going to, we've all experienced those people in the world that are like, they just stay the same, right? They still live in their high school days and they're in their 50s and they're talking about, hey, remember that Friday night in the fourth quarter and you're 52 sitting around having a beer? Like, those people want to level up, but they're afraid to get uncomfortable to level up.
Yeah. Do you think that's generational?
I don't know. My parents were 94. My mom just passed away in October at 85. So I don't think it was in their generation too. I was in their circles of parties and be listening to these things as a kid. It'd be like, well, that was back in the 50s. Like, what are you talking about now in the 90s? They were kind of stuck back there. So I don't know if it's a generational thing. It could be.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like even I'm in my close to mid 40s now, and I feel like even my generation, we weren't brought up to really share our feelings or share
for sure
the negative parts, right? Like, I feel like it was you only talk about the good things. You don't talk about that day you were sad.
Yeah, my life coach today helps me with that because I grew up that way. Like, everything's always good. There was never anything bad. And me and my brothers grew up that way. It was like, and how traumatic it is to learn to grieve, to learn it's okay to cry. It's okay to have bad feelings. That's okay. Because I think you learn how to come out of them, right? And I didn't really learn how to come out of them until, really a few years ago. Of just suppressing all this stuff, like, oh, everything's good, everything's good, everything's good. And it's like, well, not everything's good. Let's recognize the bad and feel it and then move on. right? It's like it took you years, 2 decades to grieve about your mom. I haven't grieved about my mom yet, and it's only been since October, but it's like it's coming. I'll know when that time is, but it's like you have to feel those feelings to then move on and to let it go. And I think you need help. People help you come out of that. People help you feel that. Like the podcast listening to yours is that helps people, right? And it's okay to talk about. It's okay to have those feelings, and hopefully you have a good core people to have that.
I think of it like permission, even if it's just someone's not like literally giving you permission, but hearing other people talk about it kind of opens that space of permission to just be a full human. I think growing up as a guy, you also get that like there's certain things you're not allowed to feel or be or whatever those things.
It's the manly thing, right?
Right. And it's stupid because, well, I'll say it's stupid because as a fully formed human now and having all the emotions, it's a much richer life than suppressing all those things, which then just ends up in anger, right? You're either happy or you're mad because everything is suppressed down.
And then all those triggers that come with that, of all the stuff that you've just suppressed over life, that there's just one little trigger, man, that can make all that eruption happen.
Yeah. And I think that kind of, I mean, not to make assumptions here, but that kind of probably nicely leads into your story and the fact of like kind of suppression in a way, and maybe I'm making assumptions, but to get into your story, paint the picture of your life leading up to kind of the life shift moment, because I think give us some context.
Well, I'll make it fast, but it started at the age of 1 was my first drink with my dad, and one of those little circly things bouncing around as a kid. And in the 70s growing up, it was acceptable to be like sip on beer. That moved into, at the age of 13, I was bartending my parents' parties and serving drinks to people. And I was like, oh, look at your cute son. And then in high school, I was a pretty good athlete, really didn't drink a whole ton. And then getting into vocational school and business, I realized alcohol was my superpower, that I could network with people and I could get a group of people together, and it was all around happy hours and wine and martini lunches, which led to just I thought it was my superpower, and build my business with my network of people. And my network was huge, my friend group was huge, and I was always the life of the party. If there was a party, I could take it to the next level, no matter what time, no matter where we were at. And in my mind, it was like, wow, I got this. But I got 2 failed marriages out of that deal. I neglected my kids. I was present, but I wasn't present, which we'll talk about, which is a whole other podcast probably. In 2017, I had all the red flags of, hey, maybe you should get some help. Maybe you should slow down. And on October 17th, I went into a rehab that is aversion therapy, where they kind of induce vomiting with alcohol. And it's 10 days of, it was brutal. And got out of rehab 10 days later, which was Halloween, taking daughter to go trick-or-treat, got served papers. But it was over. Like I had so much damage done prior to that, of parties. People would be like, oh, you had a party on Friday night. No, I'd have a party Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because after happy hour, I'd drag clients home with their friends and be like, hey, we're barbecuing, we're firing up some wine. That was a very common theme. So I just wore those relationships out. And then 2017 is when if there was a rock bottom or hit by a 2x4, that was it for me.
Was the rock bottom that triggered you to go to the rehab, or was rehab the rock? Like what brought you to the decision that like done?
It was probably my third day, not probably, it was my third day in rehab. I was going in to save my marriage, be a better dad, be a better business owner, be a better friend, be better for
Did you
everybody.
want to, or did you feel you had to?
I felt like I had to. There was a little bit of both. 60-40-ish probably, right? Like, hey, it's probably about time. I had all these red flags, 2 failed marriages. I have, this little chatterbox in your head of like, you really don't have a problem. Then you have this one, be like, you should probably go get some help and maybe turn your life around. But on the third day of rehab, I don't know what it was. The good Lord touched me on the shoulder and was like, hey, unless you are right, there ain't anything going to be right, kid. You need to get yourself right, and everything else you can focus on. But until you're right, there ain't anything ever going to be right. And for some reason, that just clicked with me. And it was like, boom, just like a floodgates and emotions of like, wow, I really do need to look in the mirror and go, is this the person you want to be? And that wasn't the person I wanted to be. And that was a big turning point for me. That was the turning point for me.
It was like a light inside. It was like your
Hmm.
soul inside was telling you like, hey, needs a
Yeah.
little space, a little freedom.
Yeah. And it's absolutely been transforming, emotionally, physically, lost 80 pounds. I mean, like, life transformation for me the last 7 years for sure.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, first of all, for making that decision for yourself, but also I'm sure you're able to show up for other people in ways that maybe are more rewarding to you now.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I could imagine having this. Would you look at your drinking as like a relationship with alcohol? Like, was it something in which you had to really grieve that loss?
Uh, I grew up with it. My whole domestication of a kid was life was around booze. It was always around me. And it was just the life that I grew up around. So did I grieve it? I was probably more mad at it, of like, why did I have, what if I wasn't drinking for 30 years? One, where would my business have been when I sold? Two, where would my relationships be? Where would my relationships be with my kids? So I had to do a lot of internal forgiveness and resentment and regret and feel those feelings and let them go.
But I would imagine that if you've had it for that long, like you kind of don't know, or do you know who you are without it? Like, was it something so much so that like you were losing maybe the core of you, or was that just all of you? And then now you don't have it anymore. Do you have to like reestablish yourself as a human?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to reestablish yourself. I was numbing feelings and emotions, and like again, I grew up, everything was okay. So if there was a hiccup or some drama or something wasn't good, I just push it down, push it down, push it down, and then I'd numb it with booze so I don't feel those feelings. It was more numbing what was going on, even though I had the other side of like, well, this is my superpower. I need booze because I'm getting clients and I entertain, and we can go to strip clubs and we can go to bars and we can go to trips to Cabo and we can do all these things, and it's all centered around booze and alcohol and entertainment. And it's so elegant to have a glass of wine, right? It's like, a pretty bougie thing to go, hey, let's go get a bottle of Camus and have happy hour and watch the sunset that leads into 3 bottles of Camus. We get so much romanticized around, espresso martinis and nice red wines or Sauvignon Blanc, or that was my world for 30 years.
In that 30 years, did you ever consider getting sober, or was it
Oh
just,
no, wasn't
oh,
even on
okay.
the
So this
radar.
was,
Yeah, this was just like, hey, keep going, kid. And I had these, all these false relationships around me because I was that guy, and be like, oh, let's go to the bar. No, 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 I got it. The hundreds of thousands of dollars I probably spent over the years of picking up bar tabs and be like, oh, another bottle came, it's $300. Don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I was everybody's friend in a bar.
yeah. Well, and I think it's hard because if you're suppressing all that stuff, when something bad happens in your life, you never blamed it on that, or you just was
No,
like, oh, it's their fault.
yeah, just numb it and like, yeah, it's somebody else's fault, right? And today is like I talk about and I preach, and it's like, look in the mirror. It's on me. Like I have learned to own everything I did, and I have done so much work on myself and my therapy to forgive myself. And I look in the mirror and be like, that's my responsibility. I don't blame my failed marriages on them when I did back in the day of like booze. Would be like, it's everybody else's fault. It's that person's fault, that friend's fault, that person's fault, the job's fault. And instead of looking in the mirror and going, it's on me. And on my third day in rehab, it was like, hey, it's on me. The world is on me.
That's overwhelming. How do you like? I mean, was it overwhelming? For me, it would be like that feeling of like, okay, now I got to take on the world without this mask that I've been wearing for 30 years now. Is that overwhelming or no?
No, it was kind of like you going to get your master's. It was like a challenge. It was like, I'm going to go get uncomfortable and I'm going to go work on me. And I know it's going to hurt and it's going to be really uncomfortable and it's going to be really awkward. But I always teach now is like, go get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because it was uncomfortable to learn and probably go to school and be like, oh man, this is going to be tough. But you did it. And it's wins, and you stack all these little baby wins, and it makes you feel good and be like, man, I did that. And that's how I looked at, it's on me. Is it's going to hurt. It's going to be awkward. I'm going to go get a life coach because I know I need the help of somebody to outside source. And my core people have been my core four, which I'm going to write a book about because I think it's so important of your circle of people. They make or break you. And my core four have helped me become who I am today. And I couldn't do it without them. It takes a village. It takes a tribe. And I have those people, and I'm so lucky and blessed for it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the community, the people around you that can support you in all ways, like not just when you're feeling good, but also when there are the harder parts and the tough love and the things that require, that you need to grow. I could imagine too that did you face where the friends that you had for so long did they morph into new versions of your friends, or did you really have to, like, were they no longer friends? Because
Well, I think you find out who your true friends are when there is absolute drama in your life. They either scatter or be like, I'm going to kind of let them figure out their stuff over there, and we're going to kind of step back from that. Or you have those ones that you can talk to that can be real with you and be like, hey, you need to step up your game. Hey, you need to be a better dad. Hey, you need to get in better shape. Whatever. And have those heartfelt conversations and not take it personal, right? Of like, they genuinely have your best interest. But mine were like, I could have a group of 30 people at my house in a text in 10 minutes. And today I could care less if, it's outside my core four and my family. But they kind of all scattered. I found out real quick who my real friends were, for sure. And did some of them morph into it? No. My core four that were always kind of there just became even more important to me. I mean, they were there with my drinking days. They've been with me for, 25 plus years. And they've been there and they've been like, oh my God, did you know what you said last night? Oh boy, that you might want to say sorry to that person. And those are the people you need. Yeah.
well, I think it's a common story. I think for people that have chosen to be sober and quit kind of that life, I think that friend story is very similar. I think it's a common thread that
Mm-hmm.
people see because, I mean, if you take the version of you, were you as good of a friend when you were drinking as you are now to other people?
I was always a people pleaser. I was always very kind and giving. So I don't think that changed a whole lot. Just my priorities of where I take that attention and my kindness and giving gets a lot smaller.
Interesting. So when you came out of that rehab, you said more stuff came at you. You were served papers, so that's like your first test, right? Essentially, your first real life test coming out. How did you navigate without drinking? Like, was it a challenge, or because you were like, no, I'm doing this, you were kind of moving through the world in a different version of you?
I went in on that third day. It's on me, and that's when I came out as like, hey, that's when my like you said, my first challenge was, man, it was a big pivotal point. I could have went back and started drinking again and
Right.
be like, I'm going to drown my sorrows, or I wanted to go challenge myself and can I go be this new person? And I was like, I got this. I'm going to be clear headed. And I was still battling for it even after that. Like, it was like, I'm going to prove. But the damage was already done. I did so much carnage and it was over. Even though in my mind is like, I'm still going to give this a whirl and I'm going to prove that I can be this person. But yeah, that was a big pivotal point. But it was also like, I'm going to get uncomfortable being uncomfortable and I'm going to challenge myself to continue to be better every single day. And I've kind of lived that every single day for the last 7.5 years.
So in the old version of you, you say you were served papers in that way. What would you have done versus what you like did this time?
I would have been like, call a couple buddies and you know, let's go get buzzed up at a bar.
Right. So what does the new version of you do? Because that's really, I mean, I feel like if that's all you've done your whole life, like, how do you decide what to do in a really traumatic experience?
Yes, and again, it goes back to my core four. I had really good people that I could be super emotional with and be vulnerable and cry on their shoulder and have coffee talk and walk me through that. And without that, because I never had that communication growing up as a kid, I never knew, we never talked about it to mom and dad about feelings. Like, you weren't really allowed to have feelings because everything was okay. And my core four, I'm so comfortable with, they allow me to express my feelings with no judgment. There's no like, why are you crying, baby? Let's go to the bar and have a drink. My bigger circle would have said that, but my core four knew the journey I wanted to be on and my goals and my mindset. So they helped me stay on track so I didn't veer off the side of the road and go into those negative places.
Yeah. So you would just like call them and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
instead
Well,
of
yeah.
going to drink, you're going to need to talk to me right now.
And most of them don't live in my state, so they flew up, drove up. I mean, that's how important
That's
I am
that's
to
that's
them and they
big.
are to me for sure. They'll be like, I'll be on a jet. I will see you tomorrow. That's important.
100%. I think finding the right people can, I mean, that helps you survive life, right? Like life isn't not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Like as much as we want to pretend it is,
Right.
a lot of stuff comes at us. And I guess we can choose how we approach it, but having the people that back us and really like, even if we make the wrong, quote unquote, wrong choice, having the people around us to support us through whatever we need after that fact. Because I don't make all the best choices, but I know that my friends will be there for me. Maybe they don't agree with what I've done, but at the same time, they're supporting me because that was the decision I made at the time. So, yeah, having the right circle is like, if you didn't have those people, do you think you would be as successful as you are now with
No,
this version of you?
absolutely not. I think
Mm,
the people you surround, it's kind of that old saying of like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future,
I haven't heard
is
that.
so true. Look at some of your friends or just people around and be like, or, strangers or in groups and go, huh, look at them. Be like, is that who you really want to hang out with? I did a book launch, and one of my son's friends, who I know is sober curious but still drinks a lot, and he asked me, what is the one thing I can do? And I know his circle. And I go, your circle is your problem. All you do is drink, smoke weed, play video games, and don't talk anything about the future. You need to get out of that group. Well, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard. But also staying where you're at is going to be hard. So choose your hard. It's going to get really uncomfortable to get out of that circle until you're comfortable in a new circle. And it is. That's the biggest thing. Everybody's so comfortable in the world of like, but it's easy. But there's so much more out there.
Yeah, you're speaking to me. Yeah, I mean that was my life. I think mine was trauma informed. I think, having a parent die, I assumed that my dad needed me to be perfect so he also didn't leave. And so I just felt like that just followed me until maybe like mid 30s, which is a really long time.
Yeah,
But like you want to feel safe, and comfort is safe.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. When you made that decision to stay sober, did the new decisions you were making, the new ways about living, did it was it a snowball effect for you where like one thing that felt good was rewarding, then like wanted to push you forward to the next thing, or was it always
Yeah.
good from the start?
No, no, it's I stacked little baby wins, right? And I talk a lot about, on New Year's, everybody, the big thing is I'm going to lose weight in January. The new year I'm going to go, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, right?
No one says that. I know what you're talking about.
And that is great. But the problem is, again, people get comfortable and they self fail, right? I'm going to lose 1 pound in January or 2 pounds in January. They have this goal at 30. And in the second week at the gym, they're like, I've lost a pound. I'm really not doing anything. I'm going to go have a cheeseburger and drink some beer. But if you change that mindset, and your mind's a crazy, crazy, tricky thing, as you know, if you set your goal of like, I'm going to lose 2 pounds in a week, and you did 1.5 pounds, you won. And you just stack all those little baby wins, right? Because we need to feel those wins, right? We feel that big failure of like, 30's here. I only did 2. I failed. And if you just stack those little baby wins, and that's what I did from, people look at my daily routine now and be like, how'd you do that overnight? Well, I didn't. It took me 2 years to cold plunge and wake up and journal and do breath work and go work out and meditate. That all took lots of stacking of little baby moments of reading a book of like, I'm just going to do one page. I'm not doing a chapter. I started at a page because I hated to read. Now, I've read more books in the last 7 years than I've read in my entire life. I think I read one book, 2 books maybe, and I think I'm up to like 23 books. And I love to read now, but it started with one page. Just stack little baby wins. Give yourself wins is my biggest thing, and that's how I've done it, for the last 7.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, all those things that you mentioned that are now part of your routine, if you will, sound like they might have been like the opposite of what Ian wanted to do before. Did you do any of those things in
Oh,
your life before?
well, I was pretty religious going to the gym, but I was going to the gym to sweat out booze so I could put more in. So
A
there was
lot of
really
people understand that.
not any health benefits to it. I was like, but in my mind is like, well, I went
It's
to the gym
balance.
this morning. Yeah, and then as soon as I got out of the gym, like, being here in Hawaii, I'd be like, well, let's go have a Bloody Mary. Defeats the purpose.
Yeah. But so you would go to the gym, but like meditation was off the table.
Oh yeah, and I learned after writing a book of you know I journal every morning, every single morning. I thought 85-year-old women journal. Be like, that's what old people do when they do nothing. It was one sentence, and then it went to three sentences, to a paragraph, to where maybe it's a page today. It's not a lot, but it's very consistent. And once you start those routines and those habits and that consistency, you realize you missed it when you don't do it.
Yeah. So it's really the consistency, not the result
Right.
necessarily.
Right, and it's very therapeutic. A lot of my journaling is gratitude. I think gratitude is just so overlooked in the world because we're always, you look at Instagram and Facebook and TikToks and all the social media. It's always about what's out there and greater jets and planes and cars and bigger boats and bigger parties. Of like, why don't you be grateful for what you have today?
Yeah. Do you share all of you now with
Oh
people?
yeah, yeah. In my book, I get a lot of comments of like, hey, I appreciate that because you were pretty naked in your book. It's all out there, and it was very therapeutic, actually.
Was it scary the first time you were like honest?
No, felt really, really good because I could never do that. I had all this stuff
Right.
inside me, right?
But I feel like that would be scary
Yeah,
to
but
let
it
it all
wasn't.
out.
It was the opposite for me. It was like this freeing moment. It was just like a release of like, man, it's all out there now. The real me is out there. Like I had this band-aid of like, oh, Ian's this guy. He's the party guy. He's a successful guy. He's the party dad, and that mask came off. You know, and I had it was very tear jerking in there. I have my kids write letters. I had my kids write me letters that are in the book of like what it was like growing up with their drunk dad, and it's pretty emotional. In two different stories.
Yeah, real. I mean, I think that those are the things that growing up we were told to shy away from. Those were the things that we keep under the rug at home. Like for your kids, the release and the ability for you to be willing to see that is is huge for them, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure that
absolutely.
was mind blowing for them to be like, here's how I really felt, Dad.
Yeah, and it's like okay, it's all out there. If we're putting it all out there, let's go.
No, I think that's a beautiful thing to model. And I think of those letters that your kids wrote and you have in the book. I mean, that's such a gift. Do you see it that way?
Oh,
As hard as
absolutely,
they
for
are?
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to be a full human and share all the messy parts and all the good things. But the messy parts, I think, are the things we relate to the most as
You're right.
humans, right?
Yeah,
Instead of like the Oscar that you won, like how many people can relate to someone winning an Oscar?
right. They look at that, but they don't realize the journey. And everybody has some issues. Everybody. I don't care who you are. That's the reward. I had that feeling when I sold my company in 2016. My journey was over. I went into massive depression and drank my face off in a 2-week bender. I remember looking at my bank account in Vegas with, some of my closest circle. And I had this overwhelming of like, it's over. Like today, I appreciate the journey way more than what I did there. Like I had this goal: I'm going to be the successful guy. I'm going to provide for my family, and they can have nice cars and nice trips and all these things, right? And I didn't appreciate the journey and all those experiences to where today, man, I would, I don't want it to end. I want to continue the journey because that's where all the fun is.
Right. That's where all the learning is. That's where all the connection is.
Yeah.
That's where all the mistakes are even, like we
Mm-hmm.
can cherish the mistakes because they get us to a new point. Like if we didn't make the mistake, then we wouldn't know better.
Those are the best lessons. Failing is the best lessons ever. So go be the first to fail.
Yeah, good luck telling a kid that.
Right. They'd be like, "What? We're told to win, win, win."
Especially like a version of you or a version of me as kids. It's like You're kidding, right? Like, we're not
What?
allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that generation, absolutely not.
Did you ever, in this journey, this sober journey, did you ever want to go back?
No, I have not had that feeling. I feel so good, and I found my purpose is to go make an impact on people. And I think I've silently influenced so many people.
Oh,
And with my book coming
100.
out and the people that message me or text me of like how I made an impact on their life, that absolutely warms my heart.
Yeah, and the ripple effect that's going to come from it too, right? Like someone's going to read your book and it changed their life, and then they're inspiring other people to change their own life. Like, I mean, I feel like,
Yeah, I just had a gentleman text me yesterday, got my book, read it in one sitting. He goes, I started in the morning, and it's a super easy read. And he goes, I finished it when I got home from my daughter's game, and he's like, it really resonated with me, and that it changed my life. And can I call you tomorrow? Which I talked to him this morning, and he's like, hey, I want to make a change, and would you help me? I'm like, I will be here for you, no problem. So that makes me feel fabulous that if you can go make an impact on somebody, that's what it's about, right? It's no different with your podcast of all the people that you make an impact, and then that ripple effect that goes through that water.
that's the goal, right? Showing up as good humans and hope that we're modeling something that helps someone else. I mean, I feel like that should be the goal.
That, yeah, hopefully more people have that goal in their life.
Yeah. So you sold your business before you got sober,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got sober. So did you have something to run to keep busy? Did you start some it sounds like you started something new. You got a book in play here. So like what did you do after you sold that business, became sober? Like how did you get to this point in
So
you?
I still work for the company that bought my business. Apparently, they like me. So
They like you both ways.
they,
So
they like me both ways. They probably like me more this way.
I hope so.
So I'm still with them, and then I just had this passion to go make an impact on people and to share my story and I had great people to encourage me. It took about 17 months, and again, it was just so therapeutic for me to release all that.
Right. And you're like, if I can do it, who can't?
And
Right?
the people that knew me before that saw me 80 pounds heavier and just this crazy drunken oblivion guy that's a party animal and the life of the party, which I'm still the life of the party. I just don't
Right.
drink.
You don't need it to be. So that core part stayed with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for
And
sure.
it's probably easier to be the life of the party in that way. Maybe.
Yeah, and I feel like $1,000,000 in the morning, can be up early and go through my routine, and I can still sit in a bar. I can still pour drinks for people, and if they want Bloody Marys at 8:30 in the morning, I have no problem. I'm not here to judge anybody. I don't sit here and preach people like you shouldn't drink. It does this for me, and it does this, and it's like people will realize their own journey when they look in the mirror. That's why I think so many people are sober curious. I get a lot of people that look at me and be like, well, what's it like? How can you sit in a bar? I have a lot of those questions that come up.
Is that a common term?
Sober curious? I think I've heard it, but now I use it all the time because I think it's so fitting for when people talk to me that people are sober curious. Like my son's friend at the book launch. I know he's sober curious. He wants to, but it's not. I can't go push him like, hey kid, don't drink, don't drink. They're going to figure it out, and hopefully they do it before they hurt themselves or they hurt somebody for driving or texting and drinking and whatever. Hopefully they realize it of like before it's too late. But some people, my parents were 85. My dad died at 95. They were pretty much social alcoholics their entire life. Some people don't get it.
Some people don't get it. I think it feels very similar to, like, if I'm going to equate it to something in my life, my grief journey was very much an addiction. I think it was an addiction to struggle to, am I sad enough? Am I, like, I feel like there were pieces of it that I could relate to. And I was not going to get through until I was ready to seek out the tools to get through. So I see there's a similarity in that case because, and now that like I'm the one, oh, you have a dead mom, like I'm that guy. So like, how to deal with it. So people are like, oh, go talk to Matt when you lost someone. Like, and I'm like, I can tell you how I did it, which was a big failure for 20 years. But now I know how, like when I lost my grandmother, like I knew the steps I needed to take to grieve properly. And the thing I tell people now is I'm like, and you said this early on, which I love, is like allow yourself to feel however you're feeling at any point in time, in any point of the journey, because you're human and you have all the full emotions, and don't suppress any of them and just kind of go through it. And you're going to know when it's time for you to move through to the next part of whatever that journey is. And so I love that you said that early on, because I was like, yeah, I agree. What made you want to write the book? Is the same thing, help more people?
Just make an impact. So it actually started with three of us, a couple guys I work with, and we were sitting in LA at a work function. We three of us went out for lunch, and there was a table next to us, and they were having martini lunches, and we just started reminiscing. Oh God, remember that used to be us, and we would go back to these functions and not feel good, and we'd go in and out at 1 o'clock, and we had to be up at 7. So we just kind of reminisce. One of the guys is like, "Man, we should write a book. We have so many stories." I'm like, "We should," and that's where it all started. We called a ghostwriter that next day in Phoenix, and kind of went down the path. And it started with three, ended with me. Some of them just didn't want all their stories out there. There's a lot of tributes to them in there. They're still in my core four. But yeah, that just started with a random sitting at lunch, reminiscing about martini lunches.
Yeah. And now, when does it come out, or is it out?
Came out the end of October,
Last year.
2024. So yeah, 4 or 5 months, 5 months now. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. Getting past that little
Thank
pub
you.
date is always a big challenge. So congratulations to that. And now, like you said before, like who knows how many people you're affecting and changing and inspiring, or maybe you've just planted a seed, right? And maybe they're not ready to change yet, but that idea is now there percolating and growing into something bigger. I think that's always the challenge, is like sometimes we're like, I hope that you'll do this. But again, people have to do it on their own timeline,
Right. For
right?
sure.
And do you have a company related to this?
No, not really. I have a website. It's called makeitgreat.me, which was actually created when I was in rehab of like, hey, let's go public speak and try to make an impact on people. So it's still out there. You know, I have some hoodies for sale and hats for sale on there, but I really haven't done anything with it. My life coach is kind of encouraging me to get on some speaking stages and share my story a little bit, so I might have to ramp that up a little bit. Yeah, I'm excited for what the future brings for sure.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest difference between this version of you, 2025 version of you, and 2015 version of you?
Um, I use this a lot, and I say it a lot, and I write it a lot, is you have to forgive your younger self. You have to believe in your current self, and you have to create your future self. I didn't have that in 2015. 2015, I was just people pleasing, thinking I was making money, entertaining people. Drastic difference.
Do you look back on that version of yourself as like you were surviving the best you knew how? Like you were, this is the way you were kind of making through life? Or how do you look at that version?
I think I just numbed everything. I was numbing life with booze.
That you were surviving? Like, I think, in my
Yeah,
opinion, it feels like it's almost, I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like you needed that to like survive the day, to get through whatever you were masking or pushing down. And
yeah.
so it's easier to forgive in that way as well.
And the more stuff that was coming in, the more success you have, and the more, people you have around, the more people you need to please. It's more stuff you just suppress more and more. So I would just numb it more and more. People were like, "Could you quit? Stop drinking?" Sure, no problem. I wouldn't drink for 3 days, and these problems would start like, "Ooh, maybe we should address some of these." And thank God it was Thursday happy hour, so we can push them right back down.
Yeah. Wonder, I didn't ask this, but did you struggle like stopping drinking? Like I know some people have a like an addiction that it makes it really hard to stop as well. Did you have any of those
So
challenges?
pre-rehab, that summer of 2017, it was kind of like, wife's like, "Hey, you don't drink." I was like, "I got this." So I didn't drink for 3 months. And then in September, I went to a function, a client's deal. We went to New York, went to a Buffalo game, drank. So stopping wasn't overly that hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also in the mindset of like, man, I created some damage and I got to do some repairs here. So I'm going to kind of like prove to everybody else that I could not do it. So I wasn't doing it for myself at that time. To where when I went to rehab on that third day, that's when I was like, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah. So you were able to quit cold turkey, no issue.
In 2017, yeah, for 3 months. Yep.
But after, like when you after rehab, you were done?
Yeah. Well, aversion therapy is when they induce vomiting. So you have this big thing of Epicac, which induces vomiting, and then you're like in a
That sounds
it.
terrible.
It was horrible, miserable. So you take this Epicac. You have a mirror in front of you. You have a silver bowl, which I do not have silver bowls in my house to this day. And they would pour you a shot of vodka, switch it around in your mouth, spit it out. Here's some Fireball, swish it around, split it in your mouth. You start throwing up, and they try to get 18 shots from every kind of booze, wine, Bailey's, scotch, whiskey, and you're just violently throwing up. So it gives you that version of like, ooh, booze, I'm gonna vomit. To this day, my aversion is so high that sometimes I could be sitting in a bar, and maybe some tequila shots go by a little close, and I'll get a whiff of that, my mouth will water. It's kind of like the Pavlov dog trick, is exactly what they do with booze. And my aversion is still ridiculously high. Like, I have zero interest. Probably because I vomit.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's probably what you needed at the time to kind of
Yeah, and
cut
I've
you
never
off
been
from
to
that.
an AA. I know a lot of guys in it. I think it's a phenomenal program, but it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's that community of people.
Hmm.
They can go
Yeah.
share their stories. They can go be vulnerable. They can go actually feel their feelings in a comfortable environment.
Right. And the tactical things that you do now is kind of like, your own version of kind of creating that 12 steps, if you will, like your
Mm-hmm.
cold plunging and your meditation and like all the things that serve you in a way that need to. It's kind of like you kind of created your own thing and you have
Yeah,
your own
just
community.
yeah, exactly. I like that analogy. I have my own step program for
You
sure.
do. And the support group is just so important. I was talking to someone else who had a really intense experience in an intensive care unit, and the best grieving that she found after that, after this like post traumatic experience that she had there, was with other people that had traumatic experiences that could understand, because people that don't go through it don't really understand. You don't really realize it. And that's why support groups or your core four, they've seen you through all versions of you.
Right.
So they understand what you're going through. And so I think community is so great. And I hope you put that book together for the core four. I think that's is important. I like to kind of wrap up these conversations with a question. And I'm wondering if you could go back to like day one, day two rehab version of you. Is there anything that this version would want to say to him?
Why didn't you start earlier?
Hmm. Do you think he would have the answer?
No, I wouldn't have had the answer. You know,
You needed day three.
I needed day three, but somebody touched me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, look in the mirror. It's on you. You want to be right. You need to get yourself right. Only you can do this. And you're not doing it for other people. You need to do it for yourself. You need to be right before anything else is right."
This is super woo woo, but I wonder if this version of you was that voice in your ear that day. Who knows? I don't know any of these things. But it, if people like really connect with your story or want to learn more about you or find your book, can you tell us the name of your book and tell us how to find you and connect with you and be in your orbit?
Yeah, yeah. The book is on Amazon. It's called The Wild Ride to Sobriety. You can find Ian Fee on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook,
Everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah. If you just Google my name, you'll find, well, I'll pop up, and all my stuff is very, very positive. You won't see any negative. It's all uplifting mindset, mindfulness, health, wellness, longevity, positive messages. So I recommend you follow.
Yeah. Well, I recommend that too. And I think you would welcome people reaching out to you if a certain part of this conversation touched them or they read something in your book. Are you open to people reaching out to you and
Yep,
sharing their story
absolutely.
with you?
All my info also is in the back of the book, but you can reach me at ianwfee at Hotmail. You can text me at 206-571-3068. And anything you would ever want, need, help, support, a friend on the journey, love to help you.
Well, I love that. I love that you're so open about helping others because you've been there. You've experienced the hard parts and you've experienced the good parts and all the things in between, right? One thing I think would be so wonderful, and it kind of relates to this ripple effect that we were talking about, is I always ask listeners if they know someone in their life that might need to hear your story. I think both of us would love it if you share this conversation with them, because maybe, just maybe, it might plant a seed, or it might trigger a sober, curious thought, or it might trigger them to find your book and get further down that road. So I always ask, if you're listening and you know someone in your life that might need to hear this conversation, please share it with them. I think that would be the best gift that you could give us. And I want to say thank you, Ian, for having this conversation in this way with some of my weird questions and kind of going down that road. It's really a wonderful healing part of my journey. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing work, and again, the impact you're making is phenomenal. So I appreciate what you're doing as well.
Well, thank you for that. I will accept that. Not one of my good qualities of trying to accept compliments. So thank you for that. I think you're right though. I think what's nice about books, what's nice about podcasts is that there might be someone listening or reading 5 years from now, and what we say today or what you wrote last year or the year before is like impacting people, and it's just so powerful. So I encourage anyone listening, if you have a story, put it out there, share it with others, because you never know what part of your story will inspire something in someone else. So thank you again, Ian, for being a part of this. Thank you all for listening. With that, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. So thank you again, Ian.
Thank you.
For more information, please visit www.thelifeshiftpodcast.com.